This episode may include personal reflections on trauma, including experiences of sexual harm, family dysfunction, and emotional abandonment. There are no graphic details, but the themes may still feel activating or tender. Please listen in a way that feels safe for your body and your story. You can pause, step away, or return later. Your well-being comes first. Child and Woman and the creative reflections that follow in this episode and subsequent episodes are artistic expressions, not clinical interpretations. Nothing in this series is meant to diagnose, treat, or offer therapeutic instruction. If anything in these conversations touches a tender part of your story, please consider connecting with a qualified mental health professional, a trusted support person, or a trauma-informed practitioner. Your well-being matters, and you don't have to navigate any of this alone.
Child and Woman is the first offering in the Shame Out Loud series, a body of work born long before any microphone, roundtable, or companions existed. I wrote this piece years ago and tucked it away quietly, unsure whether the time would be right to release it into the world. It lived quietly inside of me, waiting for safety and for language that would allow it to be shared. And eventually I read it to someone I trusted and then later shared it with my co-host Tammy and asked if she would join me hosting a roundtable series around this piece. Conversations exploring how shame, silence, protection, and truth shape our lives. The guests who joined us were not all survivors of sexual assault. Some grew up in chaotic or alcoholic families. Some were parentified. Others carried wounds of emotional betrayal or chronic invalidation. Some were harmed in ways that had nothing to do with sexual assault and everything to do with power, fear, and abandonment. The details differed, but their ache did not. These conversations became the first of the Shame Out Loud series. There are 6 episodes in this series, including this reading. And to support listeners through this series, I created curious writing companions for each episode. I affectionately dubbed them curious writing companions based off of how I have written for myself with curiosity. And I don't usually think about journaling. I think about it more like a companion as it's assisting me in my process. It's just a really quirky name that I use for myself, and I thought I would impart it to all of you. But these companions offer gentle writing invitations that are drawn directly from the themes that emerge in each episode. These are openings. They are not obligations. And with that, I offer you Child and Woman, Memory, Myth, Reckoning, and Return. Welcome to Shame Out Loud. I'm your host, Lori Clark. Before the story opened, there was only a girl and a moment that split her world in two. There was the child who stood in the light trying to understand what had happened to them, and the shadow of her, the one who stepped toward the dark because it felt more bearable than truth. Between them stretched a trembling threshold, a mirror, a witness forming, a path no one would choose, and yet could not avoid. This is the story of that division. The girl who could not stay, and the woman who would spend decades trying to find her again. It is a story of how a soul breaks, how it wanders, how it survives, and how, in its own time, it begins to return. Step softly. The forest shifts as you enter. Generations of women have gone before me, weighed down by a heaviness of secrecy. No one believed them. The bravery, the courage to talk about what happened to them, pain so hot it seared through bone, a pain born from violation, from abandonment, from betrayal. Women, men, you, me, us, we, all with a story. To tell of the day defilement came, it was swift, abrupt, without warning. Someone crossed a sacred boundary, uninvited, unannounced, and left us numb, cut off from sensation, from breath, and from self. A little girl, a young boy, a grown woman, a grown man. The collapse, the shock, now dissociated, drifting away from the body to survive. We rise from the floor, stand before a mirror, and see a reflection of someone who, hours before, was alive and free, now watching themselves from far away, as if witnessing another life, another face, another set of eyes all together. None of this is metaphor. It is a memory, a moment etched into the timeline of my life. I as the girl, and she as the witness I had become. Tears ran down my face as I stood in the bathroom, catching my breath. I pinched myself, feeling nothing. My thumb and finger pressed together harder, begging for the numbness to lift, begging to feel anything at all. The pressure of my fingers wakes something in me, a faint thread of awareness, a reminder that I am here, that this is not a dream. What I just lived through was not imagined. It was real. My mind knows it, and now my body begins to know it too. I strain to hear my heartbeat, but all I can hear is ringing, a sharp, endless hum that floods my ears and drowns out everything else. Every muscle tightens at once, curling around, the memory as if trying to contain it, as if holding it tightly might keep it from destroying me. The shock moves fast into tissue, into breath, into bone, filling the spaces where safety used to live. Dissociation arrives, a sudden distance, a split-second drift, a quiet slipping away from myself. Two images appear at once, the girl in the mirror and the girl standing in the bathroom in front of the sink. Water rushes from the faucet, loud and urgent, as if its sound could carry feelings too big to bear down the drain. Fingers pressed together. She is me. I am her. And yet the mirror divides our realities. The one in the mirror has a voice. I should have trusted myself. How can I hear this? I say out loud as I stand before the girl looking back at me. How is it that I can hear her thoughts? I reach toward her body. My outstretched hand is unable to connect to her skin. And this is the first moment I understand that I cannot touch the beauty of who I was not yet, not through the thick layer of violation that now stands between us. The girl in the mirror again speaks softly, her words sounding like vows and promises, whispered to survive. I lean in, straining to catch the tone, slippery, fragile, as if even she doesn't believe herself. I'm okay, she says, tears sliding down her face. Then her body betrays the lie, shaking, shivering like an earthquake inside her own skin. The tremors rise from a place too deep to name. The body tries to catch up, to purge what has happened, but the pain is too great for such a small frame to carry. Muscles, tissues, breath, all clenched around the memory so tightly that the shaking becomes only an awakening to what she has endured. I, the witness, stand there and look on helpless, knowing the truth. For all her trembling, the body is not releasing. It's absorbing. There will be no release today. That comes later, much later. And the path to reach it is dark and unknowable. Her trembling body settles into a fragile stillness. Something shifts in the mirror. The girl at the sink leans closer, watching the image of herself not just reflect, but perceive. A faint awareness crosses the face of the girl in the glass, as though she can feel something forming behind her. Slowly, the reflection turns her head. There, stretching out behind her image, a path begins to appear. Not smooth, not welcoming. A road of stones and uneven ground, dark and unfamiliar, yet unmistakably present. It doesn't look easy. It doesn't look safe. But it looks like a way. The girl at the sink feels the split inside her widen. Two selves, two instincts, two directions. Somehow she knows that if the figure in the mirror takes a step, it will be a step into an unknown landscape, a place beyond the sound of running water, beyond the pressure of her fingers against her skin, anywhere beyond this moment. Panic rises. No, no, please, don't go. Don't go into the night. Her voice cracks, desperate, calling across the glass. The girl in the mirror pauses only long enough to lift her gaze over her shoulder. And with a clarity that sounds almost like relief, she says, I'd rather go into this darkness than stay in the light of what I had just experienced. In moments like this, everything changes as fast as lightning. The girl at the sink, fingers pressed together, becomes the witness, and the one behind the mirror slips free, taking her first steps down the unknown path as the girl. And just like that, the roles settle into place. The witness has waited decades for the girl, and to her delight, she sees movement, a gentle shaking and rustling of branches and shrub, pressed tightly together like soldiers protecting their territory. A slight shift of color flicks against the blackness of what she sees as a thick, dense forest where the girl disappeared all those years ago. Another flash of color lights the deep tones lining the trees. Standing alert, the witness remains still as she observes the young girl emerging, stumbling out of the darkness. The witness listens as the girl's thoughts rise faintly. This blackness is okay. I learned to perceive and rely on my hearing and inner sight while I walk for years in utter dark. Disheveled and thirsty, the young girl steps forward. The witness notices her eyes are still closed, unable to yet meet the light. Her eyes will adjust in a moment, she thinks as she watches her slowly making her way out of the forest and along the path. She notices the girl's thoughts drifting outward, letting the witness into her own inner world. The ground feels soft, spongy, no rocks, no sharp mounds. My feet feel held. She says out loud, this will take some getting used to. Light grows. Her eyes adjust slowly. The witness stands nearby, quiet, present, and tender. The witness, curious about what will unfold, steps to the side of the mirror, watching, waiting, holding a quiet fondness for the one she's been waiting for decades. The girl can now squint. She makes out what she believes is a pool of water, dry-lipped, parched. The smooth path gives her easy footing as she kneels down at the edge of the water. Cupping her hands together, she leans in for a drink and then freezes. Gasping, her hands hit her chest as she recoils from the water. My eyes cannot be deceiving me, she thinks. What? Who? In the water? A woman, disheveled, older, her hair long, falling almost to her breasts, with fine lines around her eyes and deeper ones across her forehead. her eyes deep brown, warm, inviting. The girl takes in a deep breath, embraces herself, leaning in, looking again at the water. She reaches out. The water ripples. The fine lines in long hair shimmer into soft waves. The young girl gasps and falls backward. The ground receives her frail body and thin spine. A cry rises from her innards and emerges as a desperate whisper. Oh, could it be? No. She rises again, steadier this time, kneeling at the water's edge, eyes closed first, instinct honed in darkness, listening for danger, hearing only her own heartbeat. Then she looks. The woman looks back, a tongue stuck out, a blink, a touch to the forehead. Each gesture mirrored exactly the scar. The same scar, the very scar the young girl received when a neighborhood boy hurled a rock so hard it embedded itself beneath her skin. Then, the ember deep within her cells, long dormant, flickers. Flickers its colors: black, white, blue, red, yellow, green, brown. The ember releases its colorful swirls upward, meeting with the light of awareness. Then, flame and light. The woman's face glows in the reflection. They are the same, child and woman. Could it be that this woman is us? The girl in the mirror, and the girl still trying to catch her breath behind the locked door. Must have been minutes ago, the young girl whispers. My love. It was decades, the woman replies. The girl's instincts surge and lift her body to her feet, turning her once again toward the rocky path. The edge of the forest where the branches and shrubs move slightly, as if drawing her back. Yearning for protection, needing to return to what is familiar, presses her feet forward as the forest calls her back. But the older, wiser voice, her own, rises urgently, calling out in a tone full of ache and desire. No, no, wait, please, please don't go back into the night. Thank you for listening to Child and Woman. This piece became the foundation for the Shame Out Loud series, a collection of roundtable conversations exploring how shame forms and how it's carried and how we begin to reclaim our own voice. If what you heard stirred something in you, I invite you to join me and my co-host Tammy for part 2 of a 6-part series, where she and I sit and begin exploring the forests we each learn to walk through. For those of you who want to go deeper or write alongside the series, each episode has its own curious writing companion, a gentle reflective guide that offers prompts, grounding practices, and invitations to explore your own story. You can find all 5 companions on my website. And if you'd like to learn more about this series or revisit any episode, everything lives on my website, or on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you stream podcasts. This is Shame Out Loud, and I'm Lori Clark. Thank you for being here. And I'll meet you in part 2 of the Shame Out Loud series.